Norman Whitfield wrote, "I heard it through the grapevine" in 1966 with Barrett Strong. And the first thing that happened was nothing. Motown passed. The song went into the catalog, unreleased, one more track waiting for its right moment. What followed was one of the stranger journeys a popular song has made. Through 4 different artists, across 2 years, past 2 separate Gordy rejections, before it became what it was supposed to be. The first version was recorded by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. Gordy heard it, considered it, and declined to release it. His objection, by most accounts, was tonal. The song had a darkness in it, a paranoia that did not fit the Miracles' established identity. Smokey's voice was warm and romantic. The song required something more exposed, more searching. Gordy moved on. The Isley Brothers recorded it next. Their version was closer in spirit to what Whitfield had imagined, harder, more urgent. Gordy passed again. The song went back into the drawer. Norman Whitfield, who had written it and believed in it with a persistence that Gordy did not share, kept looking. Gladys Knight and the Pips recorded the third version in 1967. This one Gordy released, a decision he made apparently because the combination of the song and Gladys Knight's particular voice produced something that was commercially legible in a way the earlier versions had not been. The single came out in October 1960. It went to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was, by any measure, a significant hit. Whitfield had been right about the song. The fourth version was already done. Marvin Gaye had recorded "I Heard It Through the Grapevine" in 1907, around the same time as the Gladys Knight sessions. His version was slower, heavier, more interior. A performance that situated itself at the psychological center of the lyric rather than at its dramatic surface. He handed it in. Gordy listened to it and shelved it. He had already released one version of the song. He saw no reason to release another. The version Gordy shelved was included on Marvin's "In the Groove" album in 1968. An album track, not a single, buried in the sequence the way that non-singles were buried in that era. What Gordy did not anticipate was radio. DJs began pulling the track from the album and playing it independently of its album context, not because they had been told to, because they heard something in it that they could not leave alone. The phones rang when it played. The calls were consistent. "Who is that? What is that? Where can I get that?" The request lines lit up in ways that Gordy's decision to shelve it had not accounted for. He released it as a single in October 1968. "I Heard It Through the Grapevine" spent 7 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It became one of the best-selling Motown singles ever recorded. It remains, more than 50 years later, among the most recognizable records in American popular music. What the journey of this song reveals about Berry Gordy is complicated enough to resist a simple reading. He was wrong twice. Wrong to pass on the Smokey Robinson version, which was good. Wrong to shelve Marvin's version, which was great. And he was right once. The Gladys Knight version was a real hit, and releasing it was a defensible decision. The problem was not that his instincts were consistently wrong. The problem was that his framework for evaluating music was oriented toward the precedent, toward what had worked before, in ways that sometimes could not accommodate what had not been done yet. Marvin's version of the song was not like the other versions. It was slower than radio convention preferred. The vocal was more introverted. The arrangement, the strings, the specific texture of the production, was orchestrated around an emotional register that was not entirely comfortable. It asked the listener to sit with something rather than moving past it. Gordy's radio logic said no. Radio itself said yes. Norman Whitfield had been right about the song from the beginning. He had carried it through 4 recordings over 2 years, through 2 rejections, past the moment when a lesser writer would have accepted the verdict and moved on. When it finally became what it was, when Marvin's version found its audience by being pulled out of an album by DJs who could not stop playing it, Whitfield had been waiting for that outcome for 2 years. 7 weeks at number 1. One of the best-selling Motown singles of all time. A performance that has been covered, sampled, cited, and analyzed for more than 50 years. Gordy had listened to it and said, "Not this one." He was wrong. He released it anyway, once the evidence was impossible to ignore, and to his credit, which again is real, he did not wait for the evidence to become overwhelming before acting on it. The song went through 4 artists over 2 years. It was rejected twice. It was shelved once. It spent 7 weeks at number 1. Norman Whitfield had known what it was from the beginning. It just took everyone else a little longer to catch up.